Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you haven't been here before, my name is Pip and we are about to go to the local nursery. There's a couple of things I want to get. I want to get a new potato bag because my potatoes grew so well in the potato bag compared to in the ground, and I would like to be producing more produce, so more potatoes. And I want to try and get some basil because my tomatoes are already producing fruit and my basil is growing so slow that it almost couldn't grow any slower. And the same could be said for my capsicum seedlings. So they're growing so incredibly slowly. We have still had a couple of cold days and we've had a lot of rain. In the last maybe 5 days, we've had about 100 mils of rain, probably more. I didn't actually count. It was a lot. And the backyard flooded again, and I spent all that time trying to keep the house from going moldy again because La Nina has struck. So I'm really glad that I prepared for that and that I had been to the golf club a couple of days earlier and had collected a whole bunch of kindling and had boxed that all up and had collected firewood when I was at my parents' house because it's the most effective way to dry my house out, and my house really struggled with the La Nina floods a few months ago. So seeing we're going into spring and summer and it's about to happen again, I'm glad I prepped. But so for right now, we are going into the nursery and we're going to pick up a few things hopefully, and then we're going to head home and get to work in the kitchen on some Swiss chard which I harvested this morning. And yeah, we've got a few things to do in the kitchen. Let's get to the nursery first. We're back in the kitchen and it's struggle street here. So this morning I had trouble filming with my new tripod, which I bought because I lost the attachment for my previous tripod along with my AirPods and a jumper and a bunch of other things that I just can't find and have inexplicably disappeared. So you can imagine my great joy when this brand new tripod, the attachment doesn't hold and the camera fell off. So we're working once again with only the GoPro and a teeny tiny tripod for the camera, which was a challenge in the last couple of videos and will no doubt be a challenge again today. They didn't have any capsicums, which was a bit sad, but they had a lot of fruit trees. I really want to get some fruit trees, but I think it's kind of crazy to do so at a rental. But right now it's like nearly 3 o'clock and I'm starving, so I've got out and defrosted one of the potato and leek soup we made together a while ago, and I really like the flavor of this and really loved it at the time I made it, but it's kind of thickened in the process of then cooling down and then being frozen. I kind of feel like I'm eating mashed potato on toast, which feels weird. It feels weird. Tastes nice, but feels weird. While my lunch is warming up, I went outside and picked a massive amount of parsley, which we're going to dehydrate and get stored away in the pantry. When I planted my silver beets or Swiss chard at the beginning of winter and late autumn, I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't know if I would use them. I really only have one recipe where I use Silverbeet in it. And so I kind of need some help. If you guys know some Silverbeet or Swiss chard recipes that are great, let me know below in the comments. But as I said, I really only have one recipe that I use this for, and I was mainly growing it because I don't want to have to go down to the supermarket to buy a full bushel of this when I only need like a couple of stalks for one recipe. So I thought if I grew it, at least I could, you know, just cut off bits as I need it, and I could basically just experiment with what I could do with this. And as it turns out, it is the most beautiful plant, and I will be growing them even just for foliage. But I have learnt quickly this spring that they are fragile, just like me, and they don't like the sun. So my silver beets were looking amazing and so lush after one massive rain dump that we had at the end of winter. And then the rain bomb that we had this week, they needed to be harvested before that. So now there's a lot of slug damage, mainly, which is a problem after the current rain. But just prior to that, we'd had a couple of days of beautiful spring weather, and it's really heating up quite quickly. And we've got sunburnt chard. So it is quite burnt. I was actually surprised. I was like, what's going on with my chard? And then you have a look and you're like, oh, I can relate to that. And the other thing that's happening is the colored stalks are being bleached. So obviously this is a pink one and a probably more a magenta one. These are from the Bright Lights mix. And you can see because this plant was more sort of shrouded in the shade, then it's been able to maintain its beautiful color more intensely. And the same with the mango one, which is out there, which I only harvested 2 little pieces from. Whereas this pink one, which was beautiful and intense, is now quite faded and less beautiful. So I'm going to have to rethink what I've done outside. So I reorganized all the pots and I planted some new Swiss chard. And I thought that it was going to be in a place where it was getting enough shade caused by other plants throughout the day. But I've been watching it today because the sun's been pretty intense, and I'm going to have to move it because the sun is just beating down on that spot all morning and all early afternoon. So it's just going to be way too much sun and way too intense for the silver beets. I'm thinking what I might do is put another pot up on my deck, and then that way they're only getting maybe 5 or 6 hours of sunlight at most, and it's kind of protected because it's under the deck. But ooh, they are burnt. But I'm also just amazed by how beautiful and thick these stalks are. The other reason I grew them, the other reason I wanted to grow these apart from to flail them about, was because they're a good source of iron, and I am very low in iron historically. I'm not anemic, but I am very deficient, and apparently 1 cooked cup of this is 6% of your iron daily needs. So if I can get my leafy greens into my diet more, then hopefully things will naturally be a little bit better. The third reason why I'm really wanting to make sure that I use all of these, aside from obviously wanting to avoid waste and the way the world is working at the moment with food and inflation and not wanting to waste and therefore having to spend money on something else. But the main reason I'm focusing on I must use what grows in my garden, I must learn to preserve, I must try all these new things, is because I've become a bit obsessed with the microbiome. I have had a lot of health issues. I've had all the health issues, I feel like. And I've done everything the doctor said, but still most of them continue to plague me. And Rafa, my dog, has also had a lot of problems, and I've been working on his microbiome to try and remedy those problems, and seeing how much difference it made in him made me then start applying those things to myself. And so I need to be growing my own food and like minimizing how much like pesticides and things like that are coming into my world to try and give me a better chance. So to that end, let's go and deal with the Swiss chard, and we're going to get some cooked up for a meal tonight, which I need to get in the slow cooker now, and we are going to pop some in the freezer for long-term storage. And then I think I'm also going to roast a little bit tonight because I saw something on YouTube yesterday about roasting them. So we'll see how we go. Before I clean these up, I'm going to treat them like a combination of celery and spinach. So the leaves I'm going to treat like spinach, and the stalks I'm going to treat a little bit like celery. Now let's see if I can do this. Nope, I can't do it. I saw someone shred it very effectively, like how you pull rosemary off the stalk, and clearly I do not have the talent of that person. So I'm going to remove the leaves first, and then I'll deal with the stalk, and I'll wash them separately. And then we'll get them prepped and into the slow cooker for dinner. I'm just going to cut off any revolting bits, and they can go to my left, a bit like Tinder, swipe left. And then I'm just going to keep going until everybody is done. So with this big burnt leaf, I don't know if I'll probably keep any of that leaf. I think I will probably just compost that. It's probably a big waste, but I've still got the stalk, so that's something. Some of these stalks are absolutely massive, and I am so happy with how they turned out. I feel so chuffed every time something kind of works out, because there are certainly things that haven't worked out. I planted spinach from seed and purchased in seedlings from the nursery, and had absolutely no luck with the spinach. I tried in different spots. I tried nursing the spinach, and I had absolutely no luck. So I'm really happy that some sort of leafy green has turned out. I also had very little luck with broccoli. It did produce some actual broccoli stalks, some little trees, but they were tiny little trees and honestly pretty useless. This is the kind of broccoli I've successfully grown so far, so it's not really achieving much. It is better than a kick in the pants, but I don't know if I'll be growing broccoli again. I'm going to turn my slow cooker on sear so that I can sear the outside of my lamb shanks first before I start getting all the vegetables in and press go on the whole recipe. So I've just got 2 lamb shanks, and they're pretty meaty, which is great. But they've been in the freezer for probably 2 or 3 months, and so it's time to get them out. And also I'm trying to make room in my freezer so that... What are you eating, Rafi? Someone's trying to help himself to snacks in the cupboard behind me. But I'm going to try and empty out the freezer so that I can get things ready for my freeze dryer, which is arriving in, what day is it today? Today's the 3rd of October. It's supposed to arrive in Sydney in 3 to 4 days, which is very exciting. And then it's got to go through, you know, the process. And then eventually it'll come to me, and I've got to convince my best friend's husband that he wants to come in town with me and pick up the freeze dryer with his trailer and his muscles. But at that point, then I can get to freeze drying, and I'm so excited for that. So I kind of want to empty out the freezer and get things ready, or get things in the freezer that I'm going to freeze dry, so that I can just get going and hit the ground running as soon as my freeze dryer arrives. While the lamb shank is searing, I've got celery, a big lump of carrot, and some onions, all of which I chopped up and froze the other day. So I'm going to get out what I need for this meal, and then I'm going to pop this all back in the freezer. I'm only going to use a little bit of celery because I'm going to use the Silverbeet like celery, but I'm wondering if the reason why it's easier to pull out bits of celery is because it's in a stasher bag, and the cheaper version perhaps does not cut it. And I mean, we all know the plastic Ziploc bag doesn't cut it by comparison, but far out, stasher bags are so expensive. I've browned the lamb shanks, whoops, and basically what that kind of does is just, it's a color thing, so your meat looks more done, but also it's like a caramelization flavor situation that is improved by browning it, but you don't have to. But I'm going to get this on as fast as I can now because it is 5 o'clock, which means that this may well not be dinner for tonight, because we'll see how long it takes. I'm not using a recipe, I am just flying by the seat of my pants here. So I'm going to get the frozen veg in and seared first, and then we got to get this going because it's 5 o'clock. I don't know if this happens to you guys too, but I had plans for today that, yes, I was going to cook this, but I had other plans for today. I was going to try and get some work done. I was going to try and get my book ready for publishing. I was going to do a lot of things. But we've had such rubbish weather in the last 6 months that I find every single time it is a beautiful day like today, I get suckered into going outside and doing things in the garden. So let me know if you're the same, so at least I don't feel as bad about changing my day's plans and not getting any work done. Ugh, these carrots are really stuck together. Okay, that is at least softened now, so I'm going to put the chard in and the garlic. When I chopped up the carrots and the onions and put them all in the freezer, I wondered if it would be worthwhile, but honestly, it's made today so much faster, which is good because I'm running late. But, I mean, not that it really matters, I'm just cooking for one. Okay, I'm going to pop all the rosemary in now, and I'm going to pop in a little tub of tomato paste just to thicken it up. So I'm only going to use half of this. I use these little tubs because I'm cooking for one. I don't end up using a huge amount of tomato paste. So I find if I buy a big jar, which is better value, they always go off. So, you know, life. So this is one of the problems I'm hoping will be remedied by a freeze dryer, because then I could have powdered tomato or whatever on standby all the time. Okay, now I've got my homemade veggie stock paste, which is like the yummiest thing in the world. I'm gonna pop some of that in. I like lots of it. It's got salt in it, but I will still season with a little bit of salt because I'm very pro salt and very pro garlic. I might put a bit more in. And then I'm going to wash out the tomato tin with water and put that water in here. If I then add my lamb shanks, I'm going to see how much water is in there, because I don't need to cover them, but I might pop just a tiny bit more. I also want to get all the tomato off the inside of this can so it's not wasted. And then I've got parsley, bay leaves and thyme, and I've just tied them together, and I'm gonna pop them in there. Okay, so I'm put that on seal, put this on slow cook, and I'm gonna put the cooking time for 2 hours, and then I might rotate the lamb shanks and just check on things. Okay, I'm just gonna quickly tidy up and take the dog for a walk. Now that we're back from the walk and we're still waiting on the slow cooker, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to blanch these, and a couple of them I'm going to roast for dinner tonight. I saw a recipe where you put a little bit of salt and a little bit of Parmesan cheese and then you roast them, and it's kind of like a side salad. And the rest I'm going to chop up like I did with the celery and pop in the freezer. And then with all these beautiful leaves, I am going to, again, blanch them and freeze some. And I'm also going to dehydrate and powder some. Apparently Swiss chard is a really good thing to sneak into your smoothies, and I keep meaning to make my blueberry smoothie, but this seems like a great addition to increase my iron intake. The reason you blanch these before freezing them is because otherwise they're going to go brown and gross in the freezer if they're left in there for any particular length of time. And blanching them before roasting them should just allow them to get cooked a little bit quicker. So it's recommended that they're blanched for about 3 minutes. Okay, 3 minutes has passed, so I'm going to pop these out and into cold water. I don't have any ice cubes at the moment, so cold water will have to do, and then I'll get these ready for roasting. The chopped pieces I'm going to put in with a colander already in place, just to make it easier to pull them all out when they're done. I'm not ready to make a bone broth, but I might let this water from all the blanching just settle and cool completely, and then I might pop it in the freezer, and I might use it for Rafa's bone broths when I next make him one, because there's a whole lot of nutrients in that water that would be bioavailable to a dog. Most dogs can't actually take the nutrients from a lot of foods unless they're branched. You're a good boy, you just pressed a button. What did Ruffy say, hey? What did Ruffy say? Oh my god, are you alright? You just smacked your head into the corner of the kitchen table. Did you forget it was there, darling? Oh my god. Yesterday you nearly broke a rib smashing into the shed. Today you broke your brain. Oh god. Everything is pretty much done now. I've got all the Swiss chard or silverbeet stems blanched and cut up like I would use them from celery. So now I've just got to freeze them. And then I've got the stems I'm going to use tonight. This is some of the blanched chopped leaves, and there's a bit more in there that I will package up and freeze. And these are the longer unchopped leaves that I will dehydrate and then powder. I've got 2 minutes left on the slow cooker, and if you remember, I set it for 2 hours before I would open it and check, which means that it took me 2 hours to walk the dog and to turn all my silver beet into this. Alright, let's have a look and see how this is going. So I'll know it's done when the meat is falling off the bone. I might give it another hour and a half, and then I'll put the lentils in for another half an hour. The recipe for these roasted silver beets said to just drizzle with a tiny bit of olive oil, and then they used, I think it was Parmesan cheese, but I don't have Parmesan, so it will be perfect Mexican cheese. These hiccups. And then sprinkle with salt and pepper. My oven's at just under 210, and I'll give that 20 minutes. Even after all that time, the rice wasn't done, so I've pulled the meat off the bone, and I'm gonna have to pop it back in there, which means that tonight, this is my dinner. So at least I have food for tomorrow and the next few days, so that's exciting, but oh, I might as well try this while we're here. Oh my god, that is so good. Kind of glad this is all I'm getting for dinner. Oh, so good. Cheesy and salty, and the Swiss chard kind of has this sweet juice to it. Oh, my kitchen is in total chaos, but I don't care. Oh, so good. If you do nothing else, roast your Swiss chard with some salt and pepper and a little bit of cheese. Oh my god, so good. So good. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have any other ideas for things that I could do with my Swiss beets or Swiss chard, whatever you want to call it, silver beets with Swiss chard, it is too late. It's like 9:30. But if there's any other ideas you have for what I could use, what recipes I could make, well, words are very hard. But if you have any other ideas for what I could do with my silver beets, let me know. Although there may be no going back. This may be the only thing I ever do with them again. I'm mad I diced up and froze those other silver beets now. Oh, so good. That is so satisfying.